It's natural to be anxious when looking for a new job, and we want to make it easier for you. So here with tips on how to ace the most dreaded interview questions and feel confident while doing it. Please welcome career coach Sarah Vermunt. It's good to see you. It's been too long, girl. Thank you for coming back to hanging out with us. So let's talk about the interview. The interview in general. You walk in there, you might have a little bit of a shaky voice, you're nervous, you really need this job. And then the first thing they say to you is, tell me about yourself. It's like, what, do you have 5 hours? Like, where do I start? Back in 1975, when I was born, like, that's a tough one.
It is. And it's tough because you're like, are you asking like about professional stuff or personal? Like, you can't really tell what they mean by it, right?
Right.
So the best way to answer this question is to make it mostly about your professional self.
Yeah.
And then throw in like 1 or 2 spicy little personal details.
Yes.
Like if I was getting interviewed, for example, I might say something like, well, I'm a career change coach. I used to be a professor. I'm an author of 2 books. And I grew up on a farm, and I make the best chocolate cookies you've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
And they have lots to work with that way.
Yes, you know what? You get the job.
Thank you.
It was the cookies.
It's the cookies.
Yeah, it's the cookies.
Especially if you bring them. No,
that's actually really smart. So you have a little bit of anecdotal fun, and then mostly professional.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another one. Why are you leaving your current job?
So tough.
Oh. Can you imagine? I hate my boss.
That's why.
I don't get along with anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not moving up. Like, you can't say any of that.
Well, and that's usually the real answer, right? Because
Yeah.
people usually leave because they hate their boss or they're not feeling their organization, and you can't say that, right? So you have to give some sort of answer that is not smack talking your boss.
Right.
And
never, right? Is that a never?
That's a never,
Okay,
especially in a
that's what I
job
thought.
interview, because they don't want you smack talking them when you're working for them, right?
Exactly.
So I like to be strategically vague for this question.
Okay.
Because, so for example, let's say you do hate your boss.
Yeah.
A really great answer that's kind of strategically vague is to say something like, well, I'd really like to work for someone who has really strong leadership, and I didn't get enough of that in my current job.
So that's a bit of shade.
It's an honest answer, and they can kind of read between the lines to know that, oh, there's an issue at their workplace with leadership, but you're not smack talking anybody.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. What if it is another reason? What if it was a toxic workplace and there are a lot of toxic people? Can you talk about that, or does that also feel very negative?
You probably want to be, again, strategically vague about it. So using a word like toxic is like a pretty strong word. So like soften your answers, like just use soft language.
Right. So maybe I want to be around people that are, everybody pulling their own weight and like say the
flipping the
things
positive
you wish
side.
you had.
Exactly.
Okay. This is a brutal one, which I wouldn't know how to answer, but what's a weakness of yours? I mean, everyone says the same thing. I'm a perfectionist.
Hair flip. Well, I'm a perfectionist.
I'm such a perfectionist. I don't know when to stop working. I work all day and all night, and I work all weekend. And you can call me at 10 p.m. and I'll work.
Yeah, and they're just eye-rolling when you give an
Yeah.
answer like that. So you don't want to give like a douchey answer like that.
Yeah.
But everybody's big fear is like, you don't want to tell them your flaws, really, right?
Right.
So
You don't
here's
need to know how crazy I am.
No, don't go for the crazy answer. Crazy should never be involved. So what you do want to say is something you legitimately struggle with, but also how you work around that. So for example, let's say time management isn't your forte.
Yeah.
You might say something like, well, time management isn't my strong suit, but the way I get around that is to schedule in all of my projects piece by piece into my calendar, and I find that really helps.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
you're being like proactive about this thing that you struggle with.
And that shows me that you're honest and you have a good grasp of who you are as a person.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like people like that in real life and in my professional life.
Me
so
too.
I think that's really good that you can actually say something and then how you overcame it. Here's another one. Why should we hire you? Oh. Unless you're into, blatantly selling yourself over the top, you feel like there's no good answer to this.
Yeah, there is a good answer, but it's tricky for us because you have to sell yourself without coming off as like overly smarmy, and you have to do it in a concise way.
Yes.
So what you want to do is to link your skills and experience to the job you're applying for. So you don't just want to say, because I'm the best candidate. That's too vague.
Yeah.
You have to say something like, well, I see that you're looking for someone who thrives under tight deadlines and can work well with a team, and that's actually exactly the kind of environment I have a lot of experience with, and I actually find that environment highly motivating. So link it to what they're talking about in the job description.
Good stuff. This is good information. You must nail all your interviews.
Well, I haven't
Not
had
that-
any for a while,
You
but
don't
my
do that
clients do.
anymore.
My clients do.
You have your own business and you're doing amazing. So thank you for that, Sarah.